In today's session, we're going to continue on the implementation process to achieve breakthrough improvement. And so we've gone through the two pillars here of stable and capable delivery system and continuous improvement culture. Now we're going to talk about the management system that needs to be in place to ensure that the growth in the company continues to follow that continuous improvement culture. And in the management system, the first element we're going to talk about is sustainability. It's extremely important that we have sustainable processes. And if we don't have sustainable processes, then we're going to backslide into old habits. So today we're going to talk about sustainability. And when we have sustainability, a key part of this is making sure that we have the right performance metrics. So we have the established key performance indicators. Now it's talking about the lower level process metrics that need to be in place so that people are taking the right actions that are aligned with the goals of the organization. We can't have the misalignment. So today we're going to talk about sustainability, and our belief is if a process improvement isn't sustainable, then it's not an improvement. So what we need to do is have those process improvements sustainable over the long haul. So typically what we see is within 6 weeks after putting in a new process, it starts slipping back to old behavior. So we don't want that. So we're using the plan, do, check, act cycle. We're taking action to improve the performance and increase our productivity. And as we increase that productivity, we need to put in conditions so that we don't backslide. So once we make that improvement, we get a stepwise improvement in productivity. We need to put that wedge in place so we don't backslide. So that wedge is making sure we have the proper metrics, visual management techniques, everything to have visibility of making sure that people are following the rules. So remember, our number one rule is that we follow the rules and that we have standard work in place that people are following to achieve the outcomes that we're expecting. So when we look at measurement, the purpose of measurement is to, one, provide judgment on the current state of the organization. So how are we performing against our goals? Two, to induce people in the organization to take actions that are aligned with the goals. And three, provide immediate feedback on the effectiveness of our decision-making process. Dr. Goldratt had a statement, tell me how you will measure me and I will tell you how I will behave. So people behave in the way that they're measured. If we have the wrong measurements, we're going to get the wrong behaviors. Wrong behaviors, wrong outcomes. So it's important that we have those right measurements in place. So what are the right measurements? So we have a mantra at Future State Engineering. We turn a sea of data into data that we can see. We don't need a ton of data points to tell us if the process is operating effectively or not. We just need a few data points, but it needs to be the correct data points. So making sure we have those correct measurements in place that are inducing the right behaviors in the organization. So what are the foundation of a good measurement system? One, it's simple and easily understood at all levels of the organization. So everyone understands the metric and they understand um, the importance of that metric and then what's the outcomes of our process to make sure we're driving the metrics in the right direction. Provides timely feedback, so whether that's hourly, daily, no more than weekly. They're leading indicators if that's possible. So not all measures can be leading indicators, but we want as many leading indicators as possible, not lagging indicators. And provides information that induces people to take the right actions and are aligned with the company vision, mission, and strategy. So to ensure that employee behavior is aligned with the goal, we need to understand about employee learning. And so we look at employee learning. One, we need to understand what is the employee's consciousness and also what is the employee's capability. So when we start out with a new initiative, people don't know what they don't know. So they're unaware. And when they're unaware, that means they're unconscious. They don't know about the concept. And of course, they're incapable because they have never been introduced to that concept. So they're not capable of performing that task or process to something that's counterintuitive to what they've been taught in the past. So to overcome that awareness issue, we give them knowledge. So now if we give them knowledge, then they become conscious, they're aware of the concepts, but they're still not capable of performing that. So an example is full kit. So one of the concepts we use is full kit, and it's making sure we have everything that's ready to complete the task before we start the task. And so most companies aren't aware of this concept of full kit, so we give them knowledge so they understand the concept, but they're not capable of executing the full kit process. Then next we give them training. So we train them on the concepts. Now they're conscious and they're capable. So they understand the concept and they're able to execute that concept. Then after practice, 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 they become unconscious and capable. So this is where we want them. They do it without thinking. So once we get to the point where we practice and they're unconscious and capable, then the behavior is going to stick. But until we get to that point, there's always the chance that behavior is going to backslide. So that's our session for today. Thanks for joining. The next sessions we'll talk about the remaining elements in the management system of operational excellence.